Hello, friends. We are very interested to know which cities you are listening to us from, so quickly like and write in the comments where you are from. Also, share what shocking stories happened in your city or maybe even with you personally. Subscribe because the next story could be about your city or even your personal drama. Now let's dive into a new exciting story. The sun softly illuminated Jake Harris's kitchen, reflecting off the glass surfaces and bathing the room in a warm glow. Outside the window was the ocean of Port Emery, a small coastal town in New Zealand where the waves lazily rolled onto the sand. Jake, the 34-year-old owner of Green Horizon, sat at a table littered with paper, crayons, and printouts about sea turtles. His 10-year-old daughter, Emily, with a disheveled ponytail and crayon marks on her cheeks, was intently coloring a picture. "Dad, what color is better for the shell, green or brown?" she asked, raising her head and squinting. Jake put his phone down and leaned towards the table. His dark brown hair was slightly disheveled from a long day at the office, but his eyes remained lively and kind. Let's think about it," he said, rubbing his chin. "Green is like a young turtle, only from an egg, and brown is for the old, wise woman who sailed all the seas." Emily rolled her eyes but smiled. "Dad, you always say that when you don't know what to choose." "I'll do green. They're cuter." "Great choice, Em," he nodded, leaning back in his chair. "Turtles definitely approve of cuteness. This is a fact." "You just made that up, right?" she giggled, returning to the drawing. "Maybe," Jake winked, "but if I say this at your presentation at school, everyone will believe it. Even the teacher." "Just try it," Emily snorted. "Mrs. Kelly will say that you are making things up again." "Well, I'm a champion of inventions," he laughed. "This is my superpower." Emily shook her head, but her smile widened. Jake looked at her, feeling the familiar warmth. She was his anchor, smart, stubborn, with a spark inherited from Sarah, his ex-wife. Their marriage ended 8 years ago, not because of arguments, but because they simply stopped being a couple. They were now best friends, which surprised many, but it was natural for them. "Dad, will you check the oven?" Emily interrupted his thoughts. "It smells like something is ready." Jake stood up, stretched, and walked over to the stove. Chicken thighs and rosemary potatoes sizzled inside, filling the kitchen with a cozy aroma. "Oh yes," he said, opening the door and inhaling the smell. "This smells like victory." "It smells like food, Dad," Emily responded, not looking up from her pencils. "You always say that." "Because I'm a master," he said, taking out an oven mitt. "Your mother is still jealous of my potatoes." "She says you're overcooking it," Emily retorted, looking up. "And too much salt." Jake clutched his heart theatrically. "Oh, betrayal. Sarah just doesn't understand the art of crisping. You're on my side, right?" "Well, I like your potatoes," Emily shrugged, smiling slyly. "But Mom's spaghetti is better." "Hit below the belt," he laughed, turning off the oven. "Okay, I forgive her spaghetti, only because you are my main taster." He began to put food on plates, and Emily put down her pencil and stretched, stretching her neck. "Is Kate coming today?" she asked, lowering her voice. Jake froze, holding the spoon over the bowl. Caitlin, his second wife, had been more of a shadow in their home lately. She worked as a marketer and was often late citing projects. They got married 3 years ago, and at first everything was fine, but now her coldness became noticeable. "I don't know, Em," he answered, trying to sound light. "She said she would be busy, maybe later." "She promised to help with the turtles," Emily said, looking at the table. "She said that she knows how to make a cool collage." "Well, you have me," Jake smiled, putting the plates on the table. "I'm not a collage artist, but I can cut something out. Crooked squares, for example." "Crooked squares are circles, Dad," she giggled, picking up her fork. "Exactly," he nodded, sitting down opposite. "Then I'm a champion in circles. Eat, or it will get cold." They ate in comfortable silence, interrupted only by the clatter of their forks and Emily's occasional comments about school. Jake watched her, thinking how quickly she was growing. He liked these times, simple evenings, when he did not have to be the boss of Green Horizon, but only a father. Dad, were you in the office today? Emily asked, taking a bite of chicken. Yes, in the morning, he answered. I was checking out a new project. Water filters. I want them to work better than their competitors. Cool, she nodded. What does Kate do at work? She never tells. Jake shrugged, swallowing his potato. She's in marketing. Presentations, meetings, all that stuff. He says there is a lot to do now. She's always busy, Emily remarked, looking at him. Even more than you. Well, she has her own job, he said, trying not to go deeper. And I have you to keep me on my toes. Emily smiled, but her eyes lingered on him a little longer. Jake looked away, feeling a slight pang in his chest. Kate was really starting to pull away, and he didn't know how to fix it. Or did you even want to? When they finished eating, the doorbell rang. Emily jumped up. It's Mom, she shouted, rushing to the entrance. Jake smiled as he put the dishes away in the sink. A minute later, Sarah Miller, a 33-year-old woman with short blonde hair and a tired but warm smile, entered the kitchen. Emily ran after her with a backpack. Hi, Sarah said, looking around the table. Potatoes again? Don't you get tired of cooking it? It's not just potatoes, it's a masterpiece, Jake objected, wiping his hands with a towel. Hello to you too. How's your day? As usual, Sarah shrugged, putting her bag on the chair. The fifth graders rioted in math class. What about you? Turtles and food, he answered, nodding at Emily's drawings. We survive. Sarah walked over to the table and took the sheet with the turtle on it. Cool, Em, she praised. You definitely inherited your dad's hands. And Mom's too, Emily added, putting on her sneakers. You said that you drew the best at school. That was 100 years ago. Sarah laughed, looking at Jake. Now I can only use chopsticks and mugs. But you're a spaghetti champion, he winked. Emily gave away your secret. Traitor, Sarah feigned a frown, rubbing her daughter's head. Okay, get ready. It's time to go home. The lessons won't do themselves. Emily groaned but walked towards the door. Jake watched them go, and then noticed that Sarah had lingered. Are you okay? She asked, crossing her arms. You look tired. Work, he answered briefly, shrugging his shoulders, and Kate is delayed again. Nothing new. Sarah nodded, looking at him thoughtfully. Clear. By the way, today I went to a new coffee shop in the center. It was crowded there. Even Kate flashed with some guy. Jake frowned, but quickly hid it behind a smile. Maybe she ran in during the break, he said, although Sarah's words hurt him. Kate mentioned this morning that she would be in the office all day. She's all business now. Maybe, Sarah shrugged, without developing the topic. Okay, we ran. Ready? Yes, Emily shouted from the corridor. Dad, see you on Friday. Of course, Jake replied, walking towards the door. I'll bring you a new turtle pencil. He hugged his daughter and then nodded to Sarah. Good night, she said, taking Emily's hand. Don't overcook the potatoes. Don't teach the master, he said after him, closing the door. Left alone, Jake returned to the kitchen and began cleaning. Sarah's words swirled in her head. Kate in a coffee shop with some guy? Jake Harris stood in the living room, looking out at the dark ocean outside the window. The lights in the house were dim, except for the lamp on the kitchen table, which cast a soft yellow circle over the remains of dinner, the plates already in the sink and Emily's drawings neatly stacked. The silence after the departure of his daughter and Sarah seemed heavy, almost tangible. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to push away the anxiety that had settled in his chest after Sarah's words about the coffee shop. It was a small thing, a trifle, but for some reason it didn't let me go. He walked over to the sofa and collapsed on it, stretching out his legs. But the thought that Kate might not be in the office, but somewhere else, with someone else, was spinning around in her head like an annoying fly. I'm just tired, he muttered, rubbing his temples. I'll talk to her tomorrow. But the silence at home was oppressive, and sitting idle was unbearable. Jake stood up, walked into the kitchen, and poured himself some water from the jug. The glass cooled my fingers, but did not help clear my thoughts. He noticed Kate's laptop on the table. She often left it at home if she didn't take it to meetings. Jake froze, looking at him. They'd shared this laptop before when they first got married, but for the last couple of years it had been hers for work, emails, that sort of thing. Maybe I should just check my email, he said to himself, setting his glass down on the table. It's okay. He sat down, opened the laptop all the way, and entered the password, the same one Kate had used 3 years ago when they were still close. Kiteland 2020. The screen blinked, and a work panel appeared in front of it, a bunch of folders, documents, open tabs. Jake clicked on the mail icon, not quite sure why he was doing it. Maybe he just wanted to make sure she really wasn't hiding anything. Maybe it was an excuse. The mail loaded quickly. Incoming letters, work mailings, reminders, a couple of spams. Jake flipped through them, feeling a little stupid. Nothing unusual. He was about to close his laptop when he noticed the personal folder in the side menu. It was highlighted in bold. There were several unread letters. His heart skipped a beat, but he clicked. The first letter was from Daniel Marks. Subject, tonight after. Jake opened it, and his breath caught. Kate, are you free after work? I want to see you. Tired of these boring days without your smile. D. Jake stared at the screen, feeling the blood rush to his temples. He scrolled down the correspondence, dragged on for weeks. The messages were short, but too warm, too personal. You look so beautiful in that dress. I miss your laughter. When will you finally leave him? He clicked on the next letter, from Kate to Daniel, sent 3 days ago. Dan, I'm so tired of this routine. Jake is a good guy, but he's boring. Work, home, Emily, that's it. But we need to do it smart. Jake leaned back in his chair as if he had been hit. His hands began to tremble, and he clenched them into fists to stop the trembling. He reread the words again, each one cutting into his brain like a piece of shrapnel. Damn, he breathed, covering his face with his hands. Damn it, Kate. He opened another letter from Daniel, sent yesterday. You're right, he's not for you. You deserve better. I love your eyes when you laugh. Coffee shop. Sarah's words came to mind. Even Kate flashed with some guy. It was today. She wasn't at work. She was with him. Jake closed the laptop, but the screen was still burning in front of his eyes. He stood up, walked to the window, and rested his hands on the sill, looking out at the dark ocean. My heart was pounding and my head was in chaos. He didn't know what to do, scream, call her, throw this damn laptop into the sea. But he knew one thing for sure. This is the end. The phone was on the table and Jake picked it up, dialing Sarah's number. She answered after the second ring. Jake. Sarah's voice was sleepy, but alarmed. What's happened? It's already late. Sarah, he began, and his voice trembled. Are you alone now? Yes, Emily is sleeping, she said, and he heard her sit up. Are you okay? Something wrong with Kate? Jake swallowed, trying to compose himself. I just found the correspondence. On her laptop. She has someone. Some kind of Daniel. Oh shit, Sarah breathed. Are you serious? What was there? She writes to him that she's tired of me, he said, feeling the words cutting his throat. That she married me for money and status. That I'm boring, that our life is a trap. There was silence on the other end of the line, and then Sarah cursed quietly. Oh my God, Jake, I don't know what to say. It's horrible. Yeah, he smiled bitterly. I'm sitting here like a fool, and she. Damn, Sarah, how did I miss this? You're not a fool, she said firmly. You trusted her. This is fine. Jake ran his hand over his face, trying to calm the storm inside. What should I do? She's still at work. Or with him. I don't know. Have you spoken to her? Asked Sarah. No, he answered. She should be back late. I just found this. Then wait for her, Sarah said after a pause. Talk. Get it straight. You can't sit and be silent, Jake. It will eat you up. What if she lies? He asked, looking at the laptop. She already lied today. Then you will know, she answered, but you should hear it from her. Don't speculate, don't beat yourself up. Just ask. Jake nodded, although she couldn't see him. Okay, I'll talk. But Sarah, I don't know how to get through this. You are not alone, she said softly. You have me, you have Emily. We'll figure it out. Just breathe, okay? Don't do anything rashly. Thank you, he breathed. You always know what to say. That's because I'm a champion of spaghetti and common sense, she joked, and Jake smiled weakly. Call me later, okay? It doesn't matter what time it is. I'll call, he promised. Good night, Sarah. Good night, Jake, she replied, and the line went dead. He put the phone on the table and went to the window and opened it. Cool sea air rushed into the room, bringing the smell of salt and freedom. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his heart. Today was an ordinary day until it became the worst day of his life. Jake Harris sat on the living room couch, staring at the dark TV screen. The clock on the wall ticked, counting down the minutes after midnight, and every sound seemed louder in the empty house. Kate's laptop lay closed on the coffee table, but the words from her correspondence with Daniel still burned in his mind. I married him for money and status. Boring. Trap. He clutched the phone in his hands, rereading the short conversation with Sarah in his mind. She's right, he needs to talk to Kate. Right now. Headlights flashed outside the window, and Jake tensed. The car engine stopped, and a minute later the sound of footsteps was heard on the porch. The key turned in the lock, the door creaked, and Kate entered the house. Her heels clicked on the wooden floor as she took off her coat and tossed it onto the chair. She didn't notice him right away. She walked into the kitchen, turned on the light, and opened the refrigerator. Jake stood up, feeling his heart pounding in his chest. He took a deep breath and stepped towards the kitchen. Kate, he said, his voice sounding hoarse but firm. She winced and turned around. Caitlin Reynolds, a 31-year-old woman with long dark hair and tired eyes, stood at the table with a bottle of water in her hands. She was wearing a black blouse and pencil skirt, her usual work clothes, but something about her appearance, a slight dishevelment, a hint of a smile, seemed alien to him. Jake, she said, frowning, are you still awake? It's already late. Yes, it's late, he nodded, crossing his arms. Where have you been? Kate rolled her eyes, setting the bottle down. At work, where else? We have a project, I told you. Are you going to interrogate me every time now? Jake stepped closer, feeling anger welling up inside him. At work, you say? He asked, looking into her eyes. Is the coffee shop in the center also part of your work? Her face froze for a second, but she quickly recovered with a shrug. I popped in there this afternoon, she said casually. Needed coffee before the meeting. And what? Who were you with? He continued, without looking away. With a colleague, she answered, turning to the sink. Jake, are you serious? Is this an interrogation? A colleague named Daniel, he said, and his voice became colder. Kate froze, holding her hand over the tap. She turned slowly, and a hint of worry flashed in her eyes. How do you know about Daniel? She asked, narrowing her eyes. I saw your email, Kate, Jake said, pointing to the laptop in the living room. You left it open. Personal. Correspondence with him. All those sweet letters about how much you miss his company, how tired you are of me. Her face turned pale, but she immediately straightened up, crossing her arms. Have you been messing around with my laptop? She asked, raising her voice. Is this your hobby now? Spy on me? You left it here, he retorted. And I didn't spy. I just wanted to understand why you lie to me every day. But now I know. You're with him, right? Kate pursed her lips, looking at him defiantly. Yes, she said finally, dropping the word like a stone. I'm with him. And what? Jake felt the floor give out from under his feet, but he forced himself to stand upright. And what? He repeated, almost in a whisper. Are you serious? You are my wife, Kate. 3 years, and you just like that. With someone else? Oh, come on, she snorted, shrugging it off. Don't play the victim, Jake. You know yourself that we have nothing left. You live for your work and Emily. What about me? An application to your boring life? Boring? He asked, taking a step towards her. Is this what you wrote to him? That she married me for money and status, but I'm too boring. This is true. Kate looked away, but then looked back at him, a mixture of anger and weariness in her eyes. Yes, really, she said sharply. I thought you would be different. Successful businessman, green horizon, all business. I wanted life parties, trips, something bright. But instead I got this. Home, dinner, your daughter. This is not what I wanted. Jake stared at her, feeling the words cut deeper than he expected. You wanted money, he said slowly. Not me. Is that all it was? Don't overdo it, she snapped. I loved you. At first. But you've become so predictable. Work, home, Emily. Where am I in all this? Where is my life? Your life. Jake raised his voice. What about mine? I tried, Kate. I thought we were building something together. Did you just use me? I didn't use you, she shouted, slamming her palm on the table. I tried to be with you. But you don't see me, Jake. You only see your company and your daughter, and I want more. Daniel, he's different. He's alive. He wants the same thing as me. Alive? Jake smiled bitterly. So I'm dead. Is this your excuse? That's no excuse, she said, lowering her voice. That's a fact. I'm tired of pretending that your routine is enough for me. I want a real man, not a shadow that comes home and is silent. Jake clenched his fists, feeling anger mixed with pain. A real man, he repeated, and this is Daniel, your colleague with whom you run around coffee shops while I'm here with Emily. Do you even know what that sounds like? I understand, she said, looking into his eyes. And I don't care. I won't apologize for wanting to live. He took a step back, shaking his head. You won't apologize, he said quietly. Fine. Then leave. Kate narrowed her eyes as if in disbelief. What? She asked again. Go away, he repeated, his voice becoming firmer. If I'm so bored, if you're so tired, then leave. Right now. Are you serious? She asked, crossing her arms. Are you kicking me out? No, he said, looking into her eyes. You've already left. I'm just saying it out loud. Take your things and go to your real man. Kate opened her mouth, but didn't say anything. She looked at him, and a shadow of surprise flashed in her gaze, and then anger. Great, she said finally, throwing the bottle of water on the table. I'll leave. But don't think this is the end, Jake. You'll regret it. Will I regret it? He grinned. About what? About trusting you. What do you think about having a family? About losing me, she said, heading to the closet for her bag. You won't find anyone better. You're too ordinary. Maybe so, he said, watching her. But I won't keep someone who doesn't want me. Go. Kate grabbed her coat and bag, giving him one last look. Goodbye, Jake, she said, and her voice wavered, but she immediately straightened up. Don't call me. I'm not going to, he answered coldly. The door slammed, and the house fell silent again. Jake stood in the middle of the kitchen, listening to Kate's car start and drive away. He slowly sat down in his chair, feeling the adrenaline drain away, leaving a void. She left, just like that. 3 years, and it's all over. He picked up the phone and dialed Sarah's number. She answered almost immediately. Jake? Her voice was alarmed. Have you spoken to her? Yes, he said, and his voice sounded dull. She just left. Oh shit, Sarah breathed. What happened? She confessed, he answered, looking at the empty bottle of water on the table. She said she was with Daniel. That I'm boring, that she married me for money and status, but was tired. And she left. Oh my God, Sarah said quietly. Jake, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? I don't know, he answered honestly. I'm just sitting here. I don't know what to feel. You shouldn't feel anything right now, she said softly. That's too much. Just breathe, okay? You did what you could. I told her to leave, he continued. I didn't hold it. Maybe it was a mistake. No, Sarah said firmly. This is not a mistake. She chose it herself. You don't have to put up with this. Nobody is obliged. Jake nodded, although she couldn't see. What should I do now? He asked, feeling the fatigue rolling in like a wave. Now? She asked again. Go to bed. Morning will put everything in its place, and call Nick tomorrow. He will help with the divorce. Divorce, he repeated, and the words sounded like an echo. Yes, you're right. I'm always right, she joked weakly. Seriously, Jake, call me tomorrow. Or come. We'll figure it out. Thank you, Sarah, he said, and his voice trembled. You're the best thing I have. I know, she answered with a smile in her voice. Good night, Jake. Good night, he said and hung up. He put the phone on the table and closed his eyes. The silence of the house enveloped him, but now it did not seem so heavy. Kate left, and maybe it was for the best. The morning after Kate left, Jake Harris met with gray skies and the faint sound of waves outside the window. He woke up on the living room couch, where he'd fallen asleep after she slammed the door, with an aching neck and a heavy head. Light filtered through the curtains, streaking the floor, but the house seemed empty, as if Kate had taken with her not only herself, but part of his life. Jake sat up, rubbing his face with his hands, and looked at the laptop still lying on the coffee table. He did not open it again. The words from the correspondence were already etched in his memory. The phone vibrated on the table, and he picked it up. Message from Sarah. How are you? Call me when you wake up. Jake smiled faintly. She always knew when he needed a reminder that he was not alone. He dialed her number, and she answered almost immediately. Jake, Sarah's voice was soft, but worried. Did you sleep at all? A little, he replied, rubbing his neck. On the sofa, didn't make it to the bed. Oh my God, she sighed. Are you okay? After yesterday. Jake stood up, walked into the kitchen, and turned on the kettle, holding the phone to his ear. I don't know, Sarah, he said honestly. She left. She just left. And I'm sitting here thinking that maybe it's my fault. Your fault? She asked, and a note of irritation was heard in her voice. Jake, are you serious? She told you herself that she cheated. It's not your fault. She called me boring, he said, looking at the teapot. She said she married me for money and status. Maybe I really was too. Predictable? Oh, stop it, Sarah said firmly. You're not boring. You are reliable. These are different things. She was just looking for an excuse for herself. Don't trust her. Jake poured boiling water into the mug, throwing it in a tea bag. Maybe so, he said, stirring the tea, but I still feel like an idiot. How have I not seen this before? Because you trusted her, she replied. That doesn't make you an idiot. It makes you human. And she's just selfish. He took a sip of tea, burning his tongue, but not caring. What should I do now? He asked. Emily will be back tomorrow. How will I tell her? Sarah paused, thinking. Tell the truth, but gently, she said finally. She's a smart girl. She will understand that Kate is gone. Don't go into details about cheating. She doesn't need that. Just say you won't be together anymore. Easier said than done, he sighed. She loved Kate, or I thought I loved you. She can handle it, Sarah said. She has us, and you call Nick. The divorce must be formalized. Yes, Jake nodded. I'll call. Thank you, Sarah. You're welcome, she answered with a smile in her voice. Come today if you want. Emily will be happy. We'll see, he said. Have a good day. You too, she replied, and the line went dead. Jake put the phone on the table and finished his tea, looking out the window. The day was cloudy, but he decided to go out. Sitting at home was unbearable. He put on his jacket, took the keys, and drove to the Green Horizon office. Work had always been his refuge, but today he looked at it differently. Kate called him a workaholic. Maybe she was right about this. In the office, he greeted Toby, his chief engineer, who was already digging through the drawings. Boss, you're early, Toby said, raising his head. Everything is fine. Yes, Jake lied, sitting down at the table. I just wanted to check the filters. How are things going with the project? Okay, Toby nodded. We are almost ready for tests. But you look like you haven't slept. Are you sure everything is fine? Jake smiled weakly. It was just a long night, he said. Let's get down to business. Will distract me. They spent the morning working on the drawings, and the work really helped. Thoughts of Kate receded, although they did not disappear. But by lunchtime, Jake realized he couldn't concentrate. He released Toby and dialed Nick's number. "Jake, hi," Nick answered, his voice cheerful. "Sarah said you have news." "What's happened?" "Kate left," Jake said, looking out the office window. "Yesterday, I found the correspondence. She cheated on me with Daniel." "Damn," Nick breathed. "This is serious. Are you okay?" "Not really," he admitted, "but I want a divorce. Can you help?" "Of course," Nick said. "Did you have a contract?" "Yes," Jake nodded. "We signed it before the wedding. She insisted she thought it would protect her. Now this will protect me." "Great," Nick said. "Send me a copy. I'll start the paperwork." "She won't argue." "I don't think so," he replied. "She left without looking back. She said I was bored, and that was all." "Boring," Nick chuckled. "She just doesn't know what she's missing." "Okay, I'll get to it. I'll call you when it's ready." "Thanks, Nick," Jake said. "You're the best." "It runs in the family," he joked. "Hang in there." Jake hung up and leaned back in his chair. Divorce. The word sounded hard, but right. He didn't want to hold Kate, not after what she said. But how to explain this to Emily? The next day, Emily returned from Sarah's. Jake met her at the door with a tighter hug than usual. "Hey, Dad," she said, throwing her backpack on the floor. "Are you bored?" "Very," he smiled, tugging at her hair. "How is Mom doing?" "Okay," she replied, sitting down on the sofa. "We made pizza yesterday." "Where's Kate?" "Her bag is gone." Jake sat down next to him, feeling his throat tighten. He took a deep breath. He began, looking into her eyes. "Kate won't live with us anymore." Emily frowned, crossing her arms. "Why?" she asked. "Did you quarrel?" "Yes," he nodded. "We decided that it was better for us to be separate." "Sometimes this happens." "But why?" she repeated, her voice becoming quieter. "She won't come back." "No," he said softly. "It didn't work. But it's not because of you, Em. You have nothing to do with it." Emily looked at the floor, fiddling with the hem of her t-shirt. "She won't help with the turtles anymore?" she asked. "No," he answered. "But we have me. And Mom. We can handle it." "Okay," she said quietly, but then raised her head. "Are you sad, Dad?" "A little," he admitted. "But I'll be fine. The main thing is that I have you." Emily moved closer and hugged him, burying her face in his shoulder. "I'll be fine too," she said, "if you don't feel sad." Jake hugged her back, feeling the warmth of her words dispel the cold inside. "Agreed," he said. "Let's do something fun today." "Beach?" "Yes," she perked up. "Can I have some ice cream?" "You can," he smiled. "Whatever you want." They spent the day at the beach building sand castles and chasing waves. Emily laughed and Jake felt a weight slowly lift off his shoulders. But in the evening, when she fell asleep, he sat in the kitchen with a cup of tea, looking at the empty chair where Kate usually sat. She called him a workaholic. And maybe she was right. He devoted too much time to Green Horizon, too little to home. The next day he called Toby. "Toby, hi," he said when he answered. "We need to talk." "Boss, did something happen?" asked Toby. "You weren't in a good mood yesterday." "Yes," Jake admitted. "Personal. But I want to change something. Can you take on more in the office?" "More?" asked Toby. "What are you talking about?" "I want to reduce the hours," he said. "Be at home more. With Emily. Can you handle it?" "Of course," Toby said after a pause. "But are you sure? Green Horizon is your brainchild." "I'm sure," he replied. "This doesn't mean I'm leaving. It's just priorities change." "I understand," Toby said. "Then let's discuss it tomorrow." "What should I take on?" "Filters, meetings with suppliers," Jake began. "I will be on hand, but not every day." "Agreed," said Toby. "Rest, boss. You deserve it." "Thanks," Jake said. "See you tomorrow." Jake Harris woke up to the sound of Emily's alarm beeping somewhere in her room. The sun filtered through the curtains, drawing streaks of gold across the wooden floor of his bedroom. He stretched, feeling a lightness that had not been there for a long time. It had been a week since Kate had left with a slam of the door, and although her words still echoed in his head boring, workaholic, he decided he wouldn't let them define his life. Today was a new day, and he wanted to make it a good one. Jake stood up, pulled on a t-shirt and jeans, and went down to the kitchen. Emily was already sitting at the table, chewing toast and leafing through her biology textbook. "Good morning, Em," he said, turning on the kettle. "You're early today." "Hi, Dad," she replied, raising her head. "We have a biology test. We need to repeat about turtles." "Turtles are your element," he smiled, taking out some bread. "Would you like some more toast?" "Yes, please," she nodded, "with peanut butter." Jake threw the bread into the toaster and leaned against the countertop, looking at his daughter. "How are things at school?" he asked. "Besides turtles?" "Okay," Emily shrugged. "Mrs. Kelly said that my project is almost ready. You just need to add pictures." "Great," he said. "Shall we study today after school?" "Aren't you going to be in the office?" she asked, narrowing her eyes. "No," he replied, taking out the toast and spreading butter. "I reduced my hours. Toby took on more. I want to be home." Emily looked at him, chewing her toast. "Because of Kate?" she asked quietly. Jake froze, placing the plate in front of her. He sat down opposite, searching for words. "Not really," he said. "Because of us. I worked too hard, Em. I want more time with you. Kate. She just helped me understand it." Emily nodded, looking at the table. "I miss her," she said. "Sometimes, but not much." "I understand," he said softly, placing his hand on hers. "She was part of our life. But now we have us, and we can handle it." "Yes," she smiled weakly. "You're a better cook than she is." Jake laughed, feeling the tension ease. "That's because I'm a toast champion," he winked. "Eat, otherwise you'll be late." Emily finished her meal, and they quickly got ready. Jake drove her to school, waving goodbye as she ran to her friends. On his way home, he turned on the radio, and a soft melody filled the car. For the first time in a week, he didn't think about Kate every minute. Maybe it was progress. At home, he cleaned the kitchen, folded Emily's drawings, and sat with a cup of tea, looking at the ocean. The phone rang. It was Sarah. "Hi, Jake," she said, her voice cheerful. "How are you?" "Hi, Sarah," he replied, smiling. "Fine. Emily is at school. I'm at home." "And you?" "I have a break between classes," she said. "How was your week?" "After. Well, after Kate," he clarified, taking a sip of tea. "Strange. Empty. But better than I thought." "That's good," she said. "How's Emily?" "It's coping," he replied. "I asked about Kate yesterday. I said she left and will be fine." She accepted. "She's strong," Sarah said. "How are you? Have you spoken to Nick?" "Yes," he nodded. "Divorce is in progress. Kate doesn't argue. She probably doesn't care. She never cared only about herself." Sarah chuckled. "Sorry to say this, but it's true." "Nothing," he said. "You're right. I just haven't seen this before." "You are too kind," she said. "But I'm glad you cut down on work. This is a good solution." "I hope so," he said. "I want to be with Emily more. Maybe even see you more often." "Oh, I'm in," she laughed. "Come on the weekend. Let's make pizza." "Sounds like a plan," he smiled. "Thank you, Sarah." "Always," she answered. "See you." Jake hung up and finished his tea. The day was free, and he decided not to sit at home. He took his jacket and went to the beach not for work, but just to walk. The sand creaked underfoot, the wind carried the smell of salt, and Jake felt the tension go away. He sat on a rock, looking at the waves, and thought that maybe Kate was right about one thing: he had lived in a routine for too long. But now he wanted to change that. When Emily returned from school, he greeted her with a smile. "Dad, you're home," she said, throwing her backpack. "I thought you were in the office." "No," he answered, taking out a box of pencils. "Today we are with you. Let's finish your project." "Cool." She perked up, sitting down at the table. "We need to cut out the pictures. I have pictures of turtles from the beach." "Great," he said, taking the scissors. "You cut it and I'll glue it." teamwork. They spent an hour cutting and pasting pictures onto the poster. Emily talked about school, about how her friend spilled juice on her textbook, and Jake laughed, feeling the warmth of her voice fill the house. "Dad, will you always be at home now?" she asked, gluing the last turtle. "Not always," he answered, looking at her. "But more often. Work is important, but you are more important." "Cool," she said, smiling. "Can we go to the beach tomorrow, after school?" "It's possible," he nodded. "Let's take ice cream." "Hooray," she exclaimed, hugging him. "You're the best, Dad." "You too, Em," he said, hugging her back. That evening, after a dinner of macaroni and cheese, they watched a movie on the couch. Emily fell asleep, cuddled up to him, and Jake covered her with a blanket, carrying her to her room. He looked at her sleeping and thought that maybe this was what was worth living for. The next morning, he called Toby. "Toby, hi," he said when he answered. "How are things at the office?" "Hey, boss," Toby replied. "Everything is under control. We are testing filters. Where are you?" "Home," Jake said. "With Emily. I want more time here. Are you coping?" "Yes," said Toby. "But are you sure? You were always at the center of everything." "I'm sure," he replied. "I was only in the office for too long. It's time to be a father." "I understand," Toby said. "Then I take filters and meetings. Are you on call?" "Yes," Jake nodded. "Call me if anything happens." "Thank you, Toby." "You're welcome," he said. "Rest." Jake hung up and looked at Emily, who was drawing at her desk. "Dad, who were you talking to?" she asked, without looking up from her pencil. "With Toby," he answered. "He will work more in the office, and I'm here." "Cool," she said. "What are we going to do today?" "After school, go to the beach," he reminded me. "Now let's have breakfast. Do you want pancakes?" "Yes," she exclaimed. "With chocolate?" "With chocolate," he smiled, taking out flour. They made pancakes together, laughing as the batter dripped onto the floor. Emily chatted about turtles and Jake listened, feeling the house come to life. After school, they went to the beach as promised. Emily ran on the sand, collecting shells, and Jake bought them ice cream chocolate for her, vanilla for himself. "Dad, look at the shell," she shouted, running up with the find. "Beautiful," he said, taking her in his hands, "like turtle armor." "Exactly," she laughed. "Can I take it home?" "It's possible," he nodded. "Let's make a collection." They sat on the sand, ate ice cream, and watched the sunset. Emily snuggled up to him, and Jake hugged her, feeling the warmth of her shoulder. "Dad, aren't you sad now?" she asked quietly. "No, Em," he answered, looking out to sea. "I'm not sad with you." "Okay," she said, "because I don't want to be sad either." "Then we won't," he said, kissing the top of her head. "Just fun." She laughed, and they walked home holding hands. In the evening, he called Sarah. "Hi, Sarah," he said when she answered. "How are you?" "Hi, Jake," she replied. "Fine. What about you?" "Better," he said. "Emily and I were on the beach." "She's fine." "Me too." "I'm glad to hear it," said Sarah. "Good for you for cutting back on work." "She needs this." "Me too," he admitted. "I've been in the office too long. I want it to be corrected." "You're on the right track," she said. "Are you coming on the weekend?" Emily asked for pizza. "We'll come," he smiled. "Thank you, Sarah. You always help out." "That's my job," she laughed. "Good night, Jake." "Good night," he replied. 3 years passed like waves on Port Emery Beach quickly, but leaving traces. Jake Harris, now 37, stood in the kitchen of his home, stirring a pot of oatmeal. The sun filled the room with morning light, reflecting off the ocean outside the window. His life has changed since Kate left with a slam of the door. The divorce ended quickly, and she disappeared from his world, leaving only an echo of her words, boring, workaholic. But Jake decided he wouldn't let that define him. He reduced his hours at Green Horizon, gave Toby more responsibilities, and focused on what really mattered, Emily. "Dad, are you making oatmeal again?" Emily's voice came from the corridor. She walked into the kitchen, throwing her backpack on a chair. She was already 13. Her hair became longer and her eyes sharper. Good morning, Em, Jake smiled, turning off the stove. It's not just oatmeal. This is the oatmeal of champions, with honey and nuts. You always say that, she rolled her eyes, but sat down at the table. Can I have some toast instead? You can, he nodded, taking out the bread. But oatmeal is healthier. For your brains before school. My brain is fine, she said, picking up the phone. We have a math test today. I hate fractions. Fractions are no big deal, he said, throwing bread into the toaster. Do you want to do it again after school? You're not in the office today, are you? She asked, looking up. No, he replied, buttering his toast. Toby has everything under control. I'm home. Maybe we can go to the beach after your lessons. Cool, she perked up. Can I take the board? I want to try the waves. Take it, he smiled. Just don't forget the helmet. Emily nodded, chewing her toast, and they quickly got ready. Jake drove her to school, waving goodbye as she ran to her friends. He looked after her, feeling warm. These 3 years were their time: the beach, classes, movies on the couch. He didn't regret cutting back on work. Green Horizon was growing steadily, and he was finally a father, not just a boss. Returning home, he cleaned the kitchen and picked up the phone, dialing Sarah's number. Hi, Jake, she answered, her voice cheerful. How are you? Hello, Sarah, he said, sitting down with a cup of tea. Fine. Emily is at school, I'm at home. And you? There are no lessons today, she said. Day off. Michael left for a construction site, so I'm free. How's Emily? Okay, he replied. Grows quickly. I asked about a surfboard today. Wow, Sarah laughed. She's already a teenager. Are you coping? I'm trying, he smiled. And you? How's Michael? Okay, she said. He's still fixing up the old barn. He says he will make a workshop out of it. How are you, Jake, after everything? After Kate? He clarified, taking a sip. Fine. 3 years have passed. I hardly think about her. This is progress, Sarah said. I'm glad you found a balance. Less work, more Emily. Yes, he nodded. It was the right decision. Thank you for your support then. Always, she answered. Are you coming on Saturday? Pizza is waiting. We'll come, he said. Emily will be delighted. See you later, Sarah. See you later, she said, and the line went dead. Jake finished his tea and decided not to sit at home. He took his bag and went to the beach not just for a walk, but to help with the Green Horizon campaign to clean up the coast. The company held these events once a month, and he loved to participate, even if he was now more of an observer than a boss. A small group of volunteers had already gathered on the beach. Toby was handing out gloves and bags, and Jake came over to say hello. Boss, are you there? Toby said, handing him the gloves. Thought you were home today. I decided to go out, Jake answered, putting on his gloves. How are you? Okay, Toby said. There is less garbage than last month. People are starting to think about where to throw the bottles. Okay, Jake nodded. Let's get started. He took the bag and walked along the shore, collecting plastic and cigarette butts. The work was simple but calming. He bent down for another bottle when he heard a rustle behind him. Turning around, he saw a woman pulling a large net of garbage. She was tall, with short blonde hair and freckles on her nose, wearing jeans and a t-shirt with the Marine Lab logo on it. Carefully, she shouted, but the net slipped out of her hands and fell right on top of Jake, showering him with sand and pieces of plastic. Oh, damn, he breathed, shaking himself off. What is this? A greeting? The woman froze and then laughed, covering her mouth with her hand. Sorry, she said, approaching. I didn't want to. The mesh is heavy, and apparently I'm clumsy. Jake shook sand out of his hair and smiled. It's okay, he said. I'm strong. Are you from the action? Yes, she nodded, holding out her hand. Liv Campbell, marine biologist. I help Green Horizon with the coast. Jake Harris, he replied, shaking his hand. Glad to meet you, although I could do without a garbage shower. I promise this is not my usual style, she laughed. Are you a volunteer? More like a founder, he said, pointing to the logo on his t-shirt. But now I help more than lead. Oh, Liv said, raising her eyebrows. So are you the same Jake Harris? I've heard about Green Horizon. Good job with filters. Thank you, he said. And you? Marine biologist is cool. Turtles? Corals, she answered. And some turtles. I'm new here. I moved a couple of months ago. Welcome to Port Emery, he said. I hope you like it. Without head nets, of course. I'll try, she smiled. Can you help me lift this thing? I don't want to fall asleep again. Jake nodded, and together they lifted the net, dragging it over to the pile of trash. Liv turned out to be talkative while they worked. She talked about her laboratory, about how she studies corals off the coast, and about how she once got stuck in a boat for 3 hours due to a motor failure. And what did you do? He asked, throwing a plastic bottle into the bag. I sang, she answered, grinning, bad but loud. No one heard it except the seagulls. Seagulls are harsh critics, he laughed. Did you impress them? They flew away, she said. So I think not. Jake smiled, feeling her lightness contagious. They continued collecting trash, chatting about the sea and the weather until Toby called everyone for a break. Coffee? Jake suggested, nodding towards the table with thermoses. Yes, said Liv. Just no trash, please. They took coffee and sat on the sand, looking at the waves. Liv took a sip from her mug and looked at him. So you are the founder, but not in the office, she asked. This is rare. There was a time when I lived there, he said, twirling the mug in his hands. But 3 years ago, I decided that family was more important. Now more at home. Smart, she nodded. Do you have children? Yes, he smiled. Emily. She's 13. She is at school now, but will come here soon. I love the beach. Cool, Liv said. Eh, wife? Jake took a sip, feeling a slight pang. No, he answered. Divorced 3 years ago. Now it's just Emily and me. Sorry, she said, looking down. I didn't want to climb. Nothing, he said. It's in the past. And you? Alone too, she said, shrugging. There was a groom, but he left before the wedding. Left me with a lot of bills and a broken heart. Moved here to start over. Tough, Jake said. But did you manage it? Yes, she smiled. Corals help, and such promotions. They fell silent, looking at the sea, but the silence was comfortable. Jake felt at ease with her for the first time in a long time. He was around someone new. Dad, Emily's voice rang out, and he turned around. She ran along the sand with a backpack on her shoulder and a board under her arm. Hey, Em, he said, standing up. How was school? Okay, she answered, throwing her backpack. Fractions suck. Who is this? This is Liv, he said, nodding at her. She's a marine biologist. Helps with the promotion. Hi, Liv said, smiling. Cool board. Thank you, Emily said, narrowing her eyes. Do you know about turtles? A little, Liv answered. More about corals. But turtles are my friends. Cool, Emily said. Dad, can I go to the water? Go, he nodded. Just be careful. Emily ran away and Liv looked at him. She's great, she said. You're good for cutting down your job for her. Thank you, he said. It was the best decision. And you? Are you here often? Now I will, she said. I like Port Emery and people like you. Jake smiled, feeling the warmth of her words. Maybe we'll see you again, he asked. On the beach or in a cafe? Maybe, she said, smiling back. Jake Harris stood at the stove, stirring spaghetti sauce as the aroma of garlic and tomatoes filled the kitchen. Outside the window, Port Emery was bathed in the soft light of sunset, and the ocean glittered golden. It had been 3 days since he had met Liv Campbell at the Green Horizon rally, 3 days since the trash net had collapsed on him, and her laughter had remained in his memory. He didn't expect to think about her so often, but her lightness and interest in the sea touched something in him. Emily sat at the table, leafing through a biology textbook and chewing on a pencil. Dad, are you spaghetti again? She asked, raising her head. We ate them last week. It's not just spaghetti, Jake said, tasting the sauce with a spoon. This is a masterpiece. And you yourself asked. I asked for pizza, she clarified, narrowing her eyes. But okay, spaghetti will do too. Pizza at Mom's on Saturday, he recalled, putting the pan on the table. And today is my champion recipe. Eat before it gets cold. Emily sighed, but picked up her fork and began to twist the spaghetti. You're strange today, she said, looking at him. You smile more than usual. Strange? He asked, sitting down opposite. I always smile. This is my superpower. No, she shook her head. It's because of that live from the beach, right? Jake froze, holding his fork in the air, and looked at her. You're too smart for 13, he said, smiling. Maybe because of her. She's interesting. She's cool, Emily said, chewing. He knows about corals. Will you meet her again? Maybe, he shrugged. Tomorrow I'm going to the cafe. She promised to come. Wow, she said, raising her eyebrows. Is this a date? No, he laughed. Just coffee. We talked on the beach, and she said she loved Tide. I want to get to know her better. Sounds like a date, Emily chuckled. Just don't take the oatmeal. It's not cool. I'll keep that in mind, he said, rubbing her head. Eat, otherwise it will get cold. They finished dinner, laughing as Emily nearly dropped her plate, and Jake felt like the house was alive again. Afterwards, he cleaned the kitchen, and Emily went to do her homework. He sat on the sofa with a cup of tea, looking at his phone. Liv left him her number at the event, in case you want to talk about the sea, she said. He wrote to her yesterday, and she replied immediately. Coffee at the Tide tomorrow? At 11? Jake smiled, remembering her laugh. The next morning, he took Emily to school and drove into the center of Port Emery. The Tide Cafe was small, with wooden tables and a view of the sea. Liv was already sitting by the window, with a mug of coffee and a laptop. Her blonde hair was pulled back into a short ponytail, and the freckles on her nose stood out in the morning light. Hi, Jake said, approaching. Aren't you late? Hi, she smiled, closing her laptop. No, I came early. I was working on a report. Sit down. He sat down opposite, and the waiter brought him coffee. Report? He asked, taking a sip. About corals? Yes, she nodded. I study how plastic affects reefs off the coast. This is for a grant. And you, like Green Horizon. Okay, he said. Toby is in charge, and I'm more at home. I cut my hours a couple of years ago. Clever, she said, looking at him. Not many people do that. Why? Jake shrugged, twirling the mug in his hands. Life has changed, he said. Divorced 3 years ago. Decided that work shouldn't be everything. I have a daughter, Emily. She's 13. She's more important. Divorce is hard, Liv said, taking a sip of her coffee. Sorry for asking. Is it because of work? Not really, he answered, looking out the window. My ex, Kate, she said I was boring, that she married me for money and status, but was tired of family life. I found someone else. Oh, Liv breathed. This is cruel. You're not boring. You founded a company that purifies water. This is great. Thank you, he smiled. But then I believed her. Worked too much, wasn't home enough. She left, and I decided it was time to change my priorities. Smart move, she said. I went through this too. My fiancé left before the wedding. He said I was too busy with work. Left me with debts and a bunch of boxes. That's mean, Jake said, looking at her. Did you manage it? Yes, she nodded. Moved here, started again. Corals are saved. And you? How's Emily? She's fine, he said, smiling. Smart, stubborn. I love the beach. At the event, she immediately approved of you. She's great, Liv said, with a board and all that. Well done for giving her this time. I'm trying, he said. And you? Often on the beach? Now, yes, she replied. I love the sea. It calms. And you? Also, he said. Especially with Emily. We go there often. She wants to learn how to surf. Cool, Liv said. I tried it once. She fell in 5 seconds. Do you surf? No, he laughed. I'm more into sand castles, but I can try. Let's get together sometime, she said, smiling, only without head nets. We agreed, he said, feeling the warmth of her words, without nets. They fell silent, looking at the sea through the window, but the silence was light. Liv took a sip of her coffee and looked at him. You love ecology, right? She asked. Green Horizon is not just a business. Yes, he nodded. It started because of the water. We have a sea here, and people pollute it. I wanted to change something. And you? Corals? They're like underwater forests, she said, perking up. If you lose them, everything will collapse. I want to save them, even if it's a drop in the bucket. A drop is already the beginning, he said. You and I are similar in this. Maybe, she said, smiling. Have you ever dived to reefs? No, he admitted. But I want to. Emily would love it. Come sometime, Liv said. I have a boat. I'll show you the corals. I can't promise to sing if the motor breaks down. Deal, he laughed. And I don't promise to build castles underwater. They continued to chat about the sea, about work, about how Emily once caught a crab and called it Mr. Click. Liv told how she was stuck in the laboratory overnight due to a storm, and Jake told how Toby once spilled coffee on the blueprints. The conversation flowed easily, and Jake found himself thinking that he was comfortable with her. The phone vibrated, and he looked at the screen. Sarah. Sorry, he said to Liv. This is Sarah. We need to answer. Of course, she nodded. Hi, Sarah, he said, picking up the phone. What's happened? Hi, Jake, she replied. Just checking. Where are you? In the tide, he said. With Liv. We drink coffee. Wow, Sarah said, and he heard the smile in her voice. Is this Liv from the beach? Yes, he answered. She's a marine biologist. Interesting. I see, said Sarah. I won't distract you. Emily is with me after school. Come in the evening if you want. Thank you, he said. Maybe we'll take a look. See you. See you later, she said and hung up. Jake put the phone away and looked at Liv. It was Sarah, he said. My ex. We are friends. She picked Emily up after school. Cool, Liv said. It's rare for exes to get along like this. Yes, he nodded. We divorced a long time ago, even before Kate. But they remained close for Emily's sake. Clever, she said. And Kate, is this the one who left 3 years ago? Yes, he said, looking into his mug. She said I was bored, that she wanted something else. It was hard, but I managed. She was wrong, Liv said, looking into his eyes. You're not boring. You live for what you love. This is power. Thank you, he said, feeling the warmth of her words. And you, after the groom? It hurt, she admitted. But I learned. Now I live for myself and the sea, and maybe for new friends. I'm glad to be on this list, he smiled. Would you like some more coffee? No, she said, but let's take a walk. The sea is calling. Let's go, he said, standing up. They left the cafe and walked along the shore, chatting about little things about the weather, about how Liv once caught a fish with her bare hands. Jake felt that this was the beginning of something not urgent, but real, and he liked it. Jake Harris stood on Port Emery Beach, watching the waves lazily roll onto the sand. The morning was clear, the sun shone on the water, and a light wind carried the smell of salt. It's been a week since he had coffee with Liv Campbell at the Tide, and their conversations about the sea and life have stayed with him. They'd texted a couple of times briefly about the weather and coral, and yesterday he'd invited her to the beach with him and Emily. She agreed immediately, and now he was waiting for her, holding a bag with towels and water. Emily, a 13-year-old girl with long brown hair, was running along the shore collecting shells. Her surfboard lay on the sand next to Jake, ready for the waves. Dad, are you sure Liv will come? She shouted, running up with another shell. It's almost 11. I'm sure, Em, he replied, looking at his watch. She wrote that it would happen. Maybe she's stuck in the lab. She's cool, Emily said, throwing the shell onto the pile. He knows about corals. Are you friends with her now? Yes, he smiled. She's interesting, and he loves the sea like we do. Cool, she said. Just don't pretend to be a surfer. You will fall. Thank you for believing in me, he laughed, rubbing her head. I'm better at locks. Will you be surfing? Yes, she nodded. The waves are normal today, not like last time when I almost drowned. You almost drowned, he said. It was just a big wave. But wear a helmet. Okay, she sighed, taking the helmet from her bag. Jake turned around when he heard footsteps on the sand. Liv Campbell walked towards them, wearing shorts and a t-shirt with a bag over her shoulder. Her blonde hair glistened in the sun, and the freckles on her nose seemed brighter in the morning light. Hello, she said, smiling. Are you late? Hi, Jake replied, standing up. No, just right. Emily is already eager for the waves. Hello, Liv, Emily shouted, waving her hand. Did you bring something about corals? Hi, Emily. Liv laughed. Not today. But I can tell you. Are you on the board? Yes, Emily said, putting on her helmet. I want to catch a wave. Dad doesn't know how. I can build castles, Jake objected, looking at Liv. This is also a talent. Serious talent, Liv said, setting her bag down on the sand. Maybe you can show me. Only if you help, he said. Emily, go to the water. We're here. Emily nodded and ran towards the waves while Jake and Liv sat down on the sand. He took the bucket and shovel and started digging. Are you seriously building castles? Liv asked, looking at him with a smile. Seriously, he replied, compacting the sand. This is a tradition. Emily and I have been making them since childhood. Did you build it? No, she said, taking the spatula. I dived more. But let's try. What's the plan? Tower, moat, bridge, he said. Classic. Dig here. They began to work, and Liv quickly got involved, sculpting the walls with unexpected dexterity. You're good, Jake said, looking at her moat. Maybe you are a secret architect. Maybe, she laughed, but I'm better with corals. They build themselves. Tell me, he said, adding sand to the tower. Why corals? Liv put down her spatula and looked out to sea. They're like underwater forests, she said. They keep everything together. Fish, plants, even waves, everything depends on them. If they die, the sea will become empty. I want to save them. This is cool, he said. It's the same with water. Green Horizon started because I wanted clean water. There is a sea here, and people pollute it. We look alike, she said, smiling. We love the sea and want to protect it. Yes, he nodded. Only you dive, and I build filters. And castles, she added, pointing to their sandy fortress. This is also important. For Emily, yes, he laughed. She loves it when I'm here with her. After my divorce, I realized I was missing out on this. Liv looked at him, taking a sip from her bottle of water. You were talking about divorce, she said. Kate, huh? Is it because of work? Partly, he said, digging the ditch deeper. She said I was bored, that she married me for money and status, but was tired of family life. I found someone else. Hard, Liv said, looking at him. But you're not boring. You're just real. Thank you, he said, feeling the warmth of her words. And you, groom? He left before the wedding, she said with a shrug. He said that I was too passionate about work, that he needs a normal life. Left me with debts and a bunch of boxes. That's mean, Jake said, looking at her. You don't deserve this. Nobody deserves it, she said. But I managed. Moved here, started over. The sea helped. It can, he said. Me too. After Kate, I decided that family was more important. Cut down on work, became more with Emily. Clever, Liv said. She's great. Good for you for giving her this. I'm trying, he said, looking at Emily, who was struggling with the wave. She is my anchor. And I have corals, said Liv. Everyone finds their own. They fell silent as they finished the castle, and Jake felt at ease with her. She didn't press, didn't judge, she was just there. Dad, Liv, Emily shouted, running up with the board. Look, I caught a wave. Cool, Em, Jake said, standing up. You are a champion. Have you seen it? She asked Liv, brushing off the sand. I saw it, Liv nodded. Well done. The waves don't joke. They're great, Emily said. Dad, let's finish the castle. Liv, can you help? Of course, Liv said, taking the spatula. What's next? The bridge, Emily said, and the ditch needs to be deeper. The three of them got to work, Emily chatting about school and how her friend almost fell off the board last week. Liv laughed, adding stories about being stuck on a boat one day, and Jake listened, feeling the day getting warmer. Liv, are you diving into coral? Emily asked, compacting the sand. Yes, she answered. I want to show you. I have a boat. Does Dad agree? I agree, Jake said, looking at Liv. When? Next week, she suggested, if the waves are normal. Cool, Emily exclaimed. Dad, are you going to dive? I'll try, he said, but without singing, like Liv. I don't sing underwater, she laughed, only in the boat. Then I'm in, he said, smiling. They finished the castle and Emily ran to the water, leaving them alone. She's great, Liv said, looking after her. You did great, Jake. Thank you, he said. You too. Emily approved of you. This is rare. I'm glad, Liv said. And you? Do you approve of me? Yes, he said, looking into her eyes. You are real. This is important. She smiled, and they sat on the sand, looking at Emily. Liv took the shell and ran her finger along its edge. You know, she said quietly, after the groom, I thought that I wouldn't want anyone close. But with you and Emily, it's easy. Poe, I don't think so, he said. After Kate, I also closed down. But you're different. They fell silent, and Jake felt her hand accidentally touch him. He didn't move away, and she didn't remove her hand. They sat there, looking at the sea, until Emily returned, wet and happy. Dad, Liv, go to the water, she shouted. The waves are calling. Shall we go? Jake asked, looking at Liv. Let's go, she said, getting up. Jake Harris stood at his kitchen window, looking out over the ocean as it glistened in the Port Emery morning sun. It had been a week since he, Liv, and Emily had spent the day at the beach building sand castles and laughing in the waves. Liv Campbell appeared more and more often in his thoughts, her lightness, her stories about the sea, her smile. They texted almost every day, and yesterday she agreed to come to Sarah's for dinner with him and Emily. This was Liv's first time meeting Sarah, and Jake felt a little nervous. Emily ran into the kitchen, grabbing her backpack. Dad, we'll be late, she said, putting on her sneakers. You promised to take me to my mother after school. We won't be late, Em, Jake said, taking the keys. Are you ready? Yes, she nodded. Will Liv come to see her mom today? He'll come, he answered, opening the door. I want to meet her. Do you mind? No, Emily said, smiling. Liv is cool. Mom will think so too. I hope so, he said, getting into the car. Let's go. He drove Emily to school, waving goodbye, and returned home to finish things up for the evening. Liv texted him this morning. See you at Sarah's at 6. I'll bring the wine. Jake smiled, feeling the warmth of her message. She fit into his life easily, and it scared and pleased him at the same time. At 6 he arrived at Sarah's house, a small cottage overlooking the sea. Emily was already there, and Liv stood at the door with a bottle of wine in her hands. Her blonde hair was loose, and her eyes sparkled with mild interest. Hi, Jake said, approaching. You're early. Hi, Liv replied, smiling. I didn't want to be late. This is for dinner. Great, he said, taking the bottle. Sarah loves wine. Went. They walked in, and Sarah met them in the living room. She was 36, had blonde hair pulled back into a ponytail, and her smile was as warm as ever. Hi, Jake, she said, hugging him. And you must be Liv. Nice to finally meet you. Hi, Sarah, Liv said, extending her hand. I'm glad too. Jake talked a lot about you. I hope only good things, Sarah laughed, shaking hands. Come on in. Emily is in the kitchen, helping with the pizza. They walked into the living room, and Jake noticed Liv looking around the house, pictures of Emily, old pictures of him and Sarah from childhood. Sarah led them into the kitchen, where Emily was rolling out dough. "Liv," Emily shouted, waving her hand. "You came." "Hi, Emily," Liv said, smiling. "Pizza? Cool." "Yes," said Emily. "Mom does the best." "Dad, can you help me with the cheese?" "Of course," Jake said, taking the grater. They started cooking and conversation flowed easily. Sarah asked Liv about her work with corals and Liv became animated as she talked about reefs. Jake listened, feeling proud of her passion. But then Sarah turned to him. "Jake, remember how we made pizza when Emily was little?" she said, laughing. "You dropped the dough on the floor and she cried because she wanted pizza from the ground." "Oh yes," he laughed, looking at Sarah. "You saved the day, as always." Liv smiled, but Jake noticed how her gaze lingered on them. She took a knife and began cutting tomatoes, silently. "Liv, have you made pizza with coral?" Emily asked, fiddling with the cheese. "No," Liv laughed, "but I can try. Corals are probably not tasty." "Dad would eat it," Emily said. "He eats everything." "Not everything," Jake objected. "You made me give up oatmeal." They laughed, but Liv remained quieter than usual. Dinner was ready, and they sat down at the table. Sarah raised her glass. "To family and new friends," she said, looking at Liv. "Glad you're with us." "Thank you," Liv said, clinking her glass. "It's nice to be here." The conversation was about little things: Emily's school, Sarah's work, Liv's corals. But when Sarah brought up an old incident again, the time she and Jake got stuck on the beach because their car broke down, Liv tensed. "You and Jake are close, right?" she asked, looking at Sarah. "Yes," Sarah said, smiling. "We have been friends since childhood." They divorced a long time ago, but remained a family for Emily's sake. "That's cool," Liv said, but her voice was a little colder. "Not everyone is so lucky." Jake noticed the change and looked at her. "Liv, is everything okay?" he asked quietly. "Yes," she said, looking away. "I'm just tired. Long day." Dinner ended and Emily went to watch TV. Jake helped Sarah clean up while Liv stayed in the kitchen, looking out the window. Sarah approached her. "Liv, are you okay?" she asked. You became quiet. "It's okay," Liv said, crossing her arms. "It's just, you and Jake are so close." "This is strange to me." Sarah frowned at her. "Strange?" she asked again. "We are friends, nothing more." "I know," Liv said, looking at her. "But you're like family. And I don't know where I belong." Jake walked over, having heard their conversation. "Liv," he said, setting down the plates. "What's happened?" Liv turned to him, her eyes sparkling. "I feel superfluous," she said. "You and Sarah, you have so much in common. I don't know if I fit in." "Extra?" he asked again. "Liv, you are not redundant. We like you. Emily adores you." "I know," she said, looking down. "But you and Sarah, it's so close. I can't help but think I'm in the way." Sarah stepped closer, looking into her eyes. "Liv, listen," she said firmly. "Jake and I are friends. Only friends. We divorced more than 10 years ago. We have Emily, and that's all that connects us. You're not in the way. You're part of it now." Liv looked at her, then at Jake. "Is it true?" she asked quietly. "Really," Jake said, looking at her. "Sarah is my best friend. But you're different. I want you to be with us." Liv swallowed as she looked at them. "Sorry," she said. "I'm being stupid. It's just, after getting married, I'm afraid I won't fit in." "You fit in," Sarah said, smiling. "Emily already loves you. And Jake smiles more with you. This says something." "Thank you," Liv said, smiling faintly. "I went too far, right?" "A little," Jake said, jokingly nudging her with his shoulder. "But it's okay. We'll figure it out." "Okay," she said, looking at Sarah. "Sorry, Sarah. I didn't want to." "It's okay," Sarah said, hugging her. "Welcome to our strange family." They laughed, and the tension went away. Emily ran into the kitchen. "Why are you laughing?" she asked, looking at them. "We're just enjoying the pizza," Jake said, winking at Liv. "Cool," Emily said. "Liv, will you stay to watch the movie?" I'll stay, Liv said, looking at Jake, if you don't mind. I don't mind, he said, feeling the warmth of her gaze. Jake Harris opened the oven in his kitchen, releasing the aroma of roasted rosemary chicken. Outside the window, Port Emery was shrouded in the evening twilight, and the ocean quietly whispered behind the glass. Several days had passed since Liv met Sarah, and that evening removed the last shadows of doubt between them. Liv admitted her jealousy, but Sarah and Jake quickly cleared things up, and their friendship now seemed stronger. Today was the first time Liv came to their house for dinner, just the three of them, him, Emily, and her. Emily sat at the table, scrolling through her phone and swinging her legs. "Dad, is Liv sure to come?" she asked, without taking her eyes off the screen. "It's almost 7. "It will come, Em," Jake replied, taking out a baking sheet. She wrote that she was late in the laboratory, but would be back soon. "Not today," he smiled, slicing the chicken. "She is a guest. I'm cooking." But she promised to help with dessert. "Dessert?" She perked up. "Which?" "Surprise," he said with a wink. She said it was something with chocolate. "Oh, I'm in," Emily said, putting her phone away. "You won't overcook the chicken like potatoes?" "I won't overcook," he laughed. "This is my champion recipe. You will approve." "We'll see," she chuckled, but smiled. The doorbell interrupted them, and Emily jumped up. "It's her," she shouted, rushing to the door. Jake wiped his hands on a towel and followed. Liv Campbell stood on the threshold, in jeans and a sweater, with a bag in her hands. Her blonde hair was slightly tousled by the wind, and the freckles on her nose stood out in the lamplight. "Hello," she said, smiling. "Are you late?" "Hello, Liv," Emily said, hugging her. "You're on time. Dad is cooking chicken." "Hi, Emily," Liv laughed, hugging her back. "Hello, Jake. Smells delicious." "Glad you're here," Jake said, letting her inside. "Come in. Dinner is almost ready." Liv walked in, placing her bag on the chair. "I brought dessert," she said, taking out a box. "Chocolate pie. Nothing complicated, but tasty." "Cool," Emily said, peeking in. "Can I do it now?" "After dinner, Jake said, looking at Liv. "Thank you. Looks delicious." "I hope so," Liv said, smiling. "Can I help you with something?" "You can set the table," he said. "The plates are there, in the closet." They set to work. Jake laid out the chicken, Liv set up the plates, and Emily ran around with forks, talking about school. "We had a biology test today," she said, looking at Liv. "I wrote about corals. You inspired it." "Seriously?" Liv said, putting the glasses down. "Cool. How did the test go?" "Okay, I guess," Emily said. "Mrs. Kelly asked how I knew so much. I said that I have a friend who is a marine biologist." "Wow," Liv laughed. "I'm flattered." "Jake, she's smart." "I know," he said, smiling. "She is my champion. Sit down, everything is ready." They sat down at the table, and Emily immediately took a piece of chicken. "It's delicious, Dad," she said, chewing. "I didn't overcook it." "Thanks, Em," he said. "Liv, try it." Liv took a bite, nodding. "Great," she said. "You are a chicken champion." "And Mom for pizza," Emily added. "Are you friends with her now, Liv?" "Yes," Liv said, looking at her. "She's great. We hit it off." "Okay," Emily said. "I was worried when you were silent at dinner." Liv blushed slightly as she looked at Jake. "Sorry about that," she said. "I'm a little confused. But now everything is clear." "It's okay," Jake said, looking into her eyes. "The main thing is that you are here." They ate, chatting about small things: Emily's school, Liv's choral work, Green Horizons plans. Liv talked about how she once got stuck in the lab because of a storm, and Jake talked about how Emily tried to teach him to surf, and he fell after 3 seconds. "You should try again, Dad," Emily said, laughing. "Liv, do you surf?" "I tried," Liv said. "Fell faster than your dad, but I'm better at diving." "Shall we go with you on the boat?" Emily asked. "You promised to show the corals." "Let's go," Liv said. "Next week, if the weather cooperates." "Jake, are you ready?" "Ready," he said. just without singing underwater. I promise, she laughed. Dinner ended and Emily dragged Liv to cut the pie. Jake cleared the table, listening to their laughter. Liv, did you make it yourself? Emily asked, looking at the chocolate cake. Yes, Liv said, slicing. Simple recipe. Chocolate, flour, a little magic. Cool, Emily said. Dad, take a piece. They sat on the couch with some pie and Jake put on a movie, an old dog comedy that Emily loved. Liv settled down next to him, and Emily lay between them, holding a plate. Delicious, Liv, Emily said, chewing. You're a pie champion. Thank you, Liv said, looking at Jake. I have good teachers. The movie went on, and Emily laughed at every joke until her eyes began to droop. She snuggled up to Jake, and he covered her with a blanket. He's sleeping, he said quietly, looking at Liv. She's cute, Liv said, smiling. You did great, Jake. I'm trying, he said, looking at her. Thank you for coming. It's cozy. I like it, she said, looking into his eyes. It's easy with you. They fell silent, looking at each other, and Jake felt her hand rest next to his. He covered her hand with his, and she did not remove it. This is fine, he asked quietly. Yes, she said, squeezing his hand. Very normal. Emily stirred, muttering something in her sleep, and they smiled. Will you stay longer? He asked. The film is not over. I'll stay, Liv said. And maybe more often if you don't mind. I don't mind, he said, looking into her eyes. I don't really mind. Jake Harris stood on Port Emery Beach, watching the setting sun turn the ocean gold and pink. A light wind stirred the sand, and the waves whispered quietly along the shore. It had been several months since Liv Campbell had become a part of his and Emily's lives, first as a friend and then as something more. Their evenings on the beach, dinners, boat trips to the corals brought them closer, and Jake realized that he did not want to let her go. Today he was going to propose to her. Emily, now a confident 13-year-old surfer, ran alongside, helping Sarah place flashlights along the sand. They conspired a week ago, he, Emily, and Sarah, to surprise Liv. The box with the ring was in his jacket pocket, and Jake felt his heart pounding with excitement. Dad, are you ready? Emily asked, running up with a flashlight. Liv will be here in 5 minutes. Ready, Em, he said, smiling. Are you sure she doesn't suspect anything? I'm sure, she said, narrowing her eyes. I said we were just going for a walk. She believed. You are a champion of secrets, he said, rubbing her head. Sarah, is everything okay? Sarah walked up carrying a basket of flowers daisies, Liv's favorite. Everything is ready, she said, smiling. Lanterns, flowers, you. She'll be shocked, Jake. I hope in a good shock, he said, looking at her. Thank you for helping. It's my duty, Sarah said, clapping him on the shoulder. You deserve it. She is too. Dad, she's coming, Emily whispered, pointing to a figure in the distance. Jake turned around and saw Liv walking along the sand. She was wearing jeans and a sweater, her blonde hair blowing in the wind. Emily ran towards her, waving. Liv, she shouted. Come here. Hello, Emily, Liv said, quickening her pace. What's the rush? Jake, Sarah, are you there? Hey, Liv, Jake said, approaching. We're just walking. We wanted to show you the sunset. Beautiful, she said, looking at the sea. Flashlights, is this something special? Maybe, he said, feeling the ring burning in his pocket. Shall we go closer to the water? They walked, and Emily and Sarah remained a little behind, exchanging glances. Liv noticed the flowers and lanterns, squinting. Jake, what's going on? She asked, looking at him. It's not just a walk, right? No, he said, stopping at the water's edge. Liv, I want to say something. She looked at him, her eyes sparkling in the sunset light. What? She asked quietly. Jake took a deep breath, looking into her eyes. You came into our lives with a net of garbage, he began, smiling, and since then everything has gotten better. You have become a part of us, me, Emily. I didn't think I'd want this again after Kate, but with you. I'm happy. Liv smiled, but there was a hint of worry in her eyes. Jake, "What are you doing?" she said, stepping closer. He got down on one knee, taking the box out of his pocket. "Liv Campbell," he said, opening it, "will you be my wife?" The ring, simple, silver, with a small stone, flashed in the light of the lanterns. Liv froze, covering her mouth with her hand. "Oh, damn," she breathed, looking at him. "Are you serious?" "Very," he said, smiling. "I love you, Liv. Emily loves you. Be with us." Emily ran up holding flowers. "Liv, say yes," she shouted. "You are cool, and I want you to always be with us." Liv laughed, looking at her, then at Jake. "You agreed, right?" she said, her eyes shining with tears. "Yes," Sarah said, approaching. "This is a family conspiracy. You are the main star in it." Liv looked at Jake, then at the ring, and smiled. "Yes," she said quietly. "Yes, Jake, I will be your wife." He stood up, placing the ring on her finger, and hugged her. Emily rushed towards them, hugging them both as Sarah clapped her hands. "Hooray!" Emily shouted. "Liv, you are with us now." "With you now," Liv said, hugging her, and then Jake. "I love you. Both." "And we you," he said, looking into her eyes. Sarah walked over, hugging Liv. "Welcome to the family," she said. "You made him happy. And Emily too." "Thank you, Sarah," Liv said, looking at her. "You are part of this too." "Always," Sarah said with a wink. Emily ran towards the lanterns, shouting, "Dad, Liv, let's celebrate. Can I have some ice cream?" "You can," Jake said, holding Liv's hand. "Are we going home?" "Let's go," Liv said, squeezing his fingers. "But first, can I kiss you?" "You can," he said, bending down. They kissed, and Emily laughed, and Sarah turned away with a fake grumble. "Oh, you two, enough already." "Never," Jake said, looking at Liv. "This is just the beginning." They walked to the car, holding hands, and Emily ran ahead, carrying flowers. Port Emery Beach shone under the soft light of sunset as Jake Harris stood at a makeshift altar of wood and flowers. The waves whispered quietly, and the wind brought the smell of salt and daisies. It had been 3 months since he'd proposed to live on this same beach, and now here they were, surrounded by friends, family, and the lanterns Emily had insisted be placed along the sand. Jake, wearing a simple white shirt and trousers, nervously fiddled with his cufflinks as he looked at the guests. Emily, now a confident 13-year-old girl, stood nearby holding a basket of petals. "Dad, are you ready?" she asked, looking at him with a smile. "Liv is coming." "Ready, Em?" he said, taking a deep breath. "Are you sure she won't run away?" "He won't run away," she said, rolling her eyes. "She loves you. And me. We're cool." "You're a champion," he said, rubbing her head. "Thank you for helping to arrange all this." "It was fun," she said. "Sarah is also great. She was busy with flowers all day." Jake looked at Sarah, who stood a little to the side, adjusting the ribbons on the arch. Her blonde hair was pulled back into a messy bun, and her smile was as bright as ever. "Sarah, are you okay?" he shouted. "The best," she answered, approaching. "It's your day, Jake. And Liv, I'm just here for support." "You are more than a support," he said. "You are part of this." "I know," she said, clapping him on the shoulder. "Don't ruin everything, okay?" "I'll try," he laughed. The music, a soft guitar melody from Toby's friend, started, and the guests turned toward the path. Liv Campbell appeared walking along the sand in a simple white dress with daisies in her hair. Her blonde locks blew in the wind, and the freckles on her nose seemed brighter in the sunset light. She smiled, looking at Jake, and he felt his heart skip a beat. "Wow," Emily whispered. "She's beautiful, Dad." "Yes," he said quietly. "Very." Liv walked up to the altar, and Emily threw the petals, laughing. "Hi," Liv said, looking at Jake. "You didn't run away." "Hi," he replied, taking her hand. "No way. You?" "Never," she said, squeezing his fingers. The priest, a local old man who had known Jake since childhood, began the ceremony, but Jake could barely hear the words. He looked at Liv, feeling the warmth of her hand and the joy in her eyes. When it was time for the vows, he turned to her. "Liv," he said, his voice shaking slightly. You fell on me with a net of garbage and turned my life upside down. I didn't think I'd find someone after everything, but you. You made me a better person. I love you. I promise to be with you, listen to you, and not overcook the chicken." The guests laughed, and Liv smiled, her eyes sparkling. "Jake," she said, "you showed me that family is not just a word. You and Emily took me in, and I found a home. I love you. I promise to be with you, dive with you to the corals, and not sing underwater." Emily giggled, and Sarah whispered, "It's a good thing she doesn't sing." The priest smiled. "Exchange rings," he said. Emily handed over the rings, looking at them with pride. "You're cool," she whispered. Jake put the ring on Liv's finger, and she put it on his, and their hands clasped. "I pronounce you husband and wife," said the priest. "You can kiss." Jake leaned over and Liv hugged him, their lips meeting as the guests applauded. Emily shouted, "Hooray!" and Sarah whistled. "Dad, Liv, you're married," Emily shouted, rushing towards them. "Yes, Em," Jake said, hugging her and Liv. "Now we are all together." Guests surrounded them, congratulating them, and Toby approached with a guitar. "Jake, Liv, dance," he asked, playing a melody. "Let's go," Jake said, looking at Liv. "Do you dance?" "With you, yes," she said, taking his hand. They danced on the sand, barefoot, to Emily's laughter and Toby's music. Sarah walked over, looking at them. "You're cute," she said, "but I promised Emily a surprise." "Which?" Jake asked, hugging Liv. "You'll see now," Sarah said, winking at Emily. Emily and Sarah walked away to the edge of the water, whispering, and then suddenly ran towards them. "Dad, Liv, hold on," Emily shouted. Before they could react, Emily and Sarah pushed them towards the water, and Jake and Liv fell into the waves, laughing. Liv's dress was wet and Jake's shirt was stuck to his body, but they stood up, holding hands. "What was that?" Jake said, brushing himself off. "Tradition," Emily said, giggling. "Mom and I decided, tradition," Liv said, looking at Sarah. "Have you agreed?" "Yes," Sarah said, laughing. "It's family now." "Welcome, Liv." The guests laughed and Liv hugged Emily and Sarah. "You are crazy," she said, "but I'm in." "Great," Jake said, hugging her. "Now we are all wet and happy." They returned to the guests, and the evening continued food, dancing, laughter. Emily was running with her friends while Sarah walked up to Jake and Liv. "You are a cool couple," she said. "I'm happy for you." "Thank you, Sarah," Jake said. "You made it special." "This is my job," she said. "And the honeymoon? Where?" "We want a short one," said Liv. "Maybe to the islands. But not for long. Emily is more important." "Clever," said Sarah. "She won't let you go for long." "Never," Emily said, running up. "Liv, Dad, will you live with us?" "Yes, Em," Jake said, looking at Liv. "We're all together." "Cool," she said. "Liv, will you cook the pies?" "I will," Liv said, hugging her, "and dive with you to the corals." Night fell, and the guests began to leave. Jake, Liv, and Emily stood by the water, looking at the flashlights. "It was the best day," Liv said, holding his hand. "Yes," said Jake. Jake Harris stood at the window of the children's room, looking at Liam sleeping in his crib. It's been a year since he and Liv got married on Port Emery Beach, and their family has now grown. Liam was 3 months old, with dark hair like Jake's, and Liv's freckles were already visible on his cheeks. The morning light flooded the room, and the ocean outside the window whispered, as always. Jake smiled, feeling a warmth he had never felt before. Liv walked in holding a mug of tea, her blonde hair pulled back into a messy bun. "Hi," she said quietly, looking at Liam. "Is he sleeping?" "Yes," Jake replied, putting his arm around her shoulders, like a champion. "Did you get enough sleep?" "A little," she said, clinging to him. "He woke up at 3. But I'm fine. You?" "Okay," he said, kissing the top of her head. "I'm always fine with you and the kids." Emily, now 14 years old, ran into the room holding her backpack. "Dad, Liv, I'll be late," she said, looking at them. "Is Liam sleeping? He's cute when he's not yelling." "Hey, Em," Liv laughed. Yes, he's sleeping. Are you ready for school? Yes, Emily said, looking at her brother. He looks like you, Dad, only louder. Thanks, Jake said, smiling. You were loud at his age, too. I wasn't, she objected, but laughed. Liv, will you pick me up after school? I want to go to the beach. I'll take it, Liv said, if Liam doesn't give the concert. Agreed, said Emily. Dad, are you with us? Maybe, he said, if Toby doesn't crash me in the office. Emily left and Jake and Liv sat in the kitchen with tea. Liam stirred in his crib and Liv stood up. My way out, she said. Will you make breakfast? I'll do it, he said. Toasts with the champion? Perfect, she said, walking away to Liam. Jake started cooking, thinking about how their lives had changed. After the wedding, she and Liv decided not to go far for their honeymoon. They took a short trip to the islands, leaving Emily with Sarah. When they returned, they found out that Liv was pregnant, and joy was mixed with excitement. Liam was born on a stormy night, and now their house was full of laughter and screams. Liv came back with Liam in her arms, and he hummed, looking at Jake. Hey, champion, Jake said, taking it. Hungry? Always, Liv said, sitting down, like me. They were eating toast, and Liam was reaching towards the table as Jake held him. He's growing fast, Liv said, looking at her son, like Emily. Yes, said Jake. She's already a teenager, and now I have two champions. You're doing well, Liv said, smiling. We can handle it. The day passed in the usual bustle. Jake went to the Green Horizon office, where Toby reported on the new filters, and Liv picked Emily up from school. In the evening, Sarah and Michael, her partner, came to visit. Sarah brought pizza, and Michael brought a toolbox to fix the squeaky door. Hi, family, Sarah said, placing the pizza on the table. How are you? Hi, Sarah, Jake said, hugging her. Fine. Liam is sleeping. Emily is on the beach. Hey, Sarah, Michael, Liv said as she walked out with Liam. He just woke up. Oh, he's so cute, Sarah said, picking up Liam. Michael, look, Freckles. How are you, Liv? Michael said, smiling. Hello, Jake. Does the door squeak? Yes, said Jake. Thank you for coming. My job, Michael said, walking toward the door. Emily ran in with the board under her arm. Hello, Mom. Michael, she shouted. Pizza? Cool. Hey, Em, Sarah said, looking at her. How are the waves? Normal, Emily said. Liv helped me catch one. She's cool. Thanks, Em, Liv said, smiling. You too. They sat down at the table and Liam hummed in Sarah's arms. He's hungry, Sarah said, handing him to Liv. Are you feeding? Yes, Liv said, taking it. I'll be right back. She went to feed Liam and Emily grabbed a slice of pizza. Dad, Liv is great, she said. You're great for marrying her. Thanks, Em, Jake said, looking at her. She makes us better. You're cute, Sarah said, chewing. How are you coping with Liam? Chaotic, Jake said. But it's fun. He screams like a champ. Like you were when you were a child, Sarah said with a wink. I remember how you screamed when you wanted to eat. I was quiet, he objected, laughing. No, said Sarah. Emily was loud too. It's family run. Liv returned, sitting down with Liam. He has eaten, she said. He's sleeping now. Is there any pizza left? Yes, Jake said, pushing the piece towards her. Eat, champion. Michael returned, wiping his hands. The door is fine, he said. It doesn't squeak anymore. Thank you, Michael, Liv said. You saved us. My job, he said. Is Liam growing fast? Yes, said Liv. It's already been 3 months, like I was born yesterday. Time flies, said Sarah. Emily, you are a sister in a million. I'm trying, Emily said. He's cute when he's not yelling. They laughed, and the evening passed in chatter about Emily's school, Liv's choral, Michael's construction project. Liam woke up and Jake took him while Liv ate. Dad, he looks like you, Emily said, just louder. Thanks, Em, he said, rocking Liam. You were like that too. I wasn't, she said, but smiled. Sarah looked at them, smiling. You are a great family, she said. I'm happy for you. Thank you, Sarah, Jake said. You are part of this. I know, she said. And Michael, too. Yes, said Michael. I'm here for the doors and pizza. They laughed and Liam hooted, looking at Jake. He wants pizza, Liv said, looking at her son. It's early, champ, Jake said. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one.